Lesson 2. It is and is it? Alright, before we dive in, last time at the end of lesson 1 I asked you why the Polish word for scandal is a scandal. Okay, it's on the screen now. Let's just hear it.
Skandal. Skandal.
First of all, before we discuss the scandalous nature of scandal, one key thing we can take away from scandal is that if it sounds like a K, it is a K. Okay, so in Polish, K is always K. We don't have this like we do in English where we have the letter C, which sometimes is hard and sometimes it's soft and sometimes it's SE and all that sort of stuff. So if we want to get scandal, we need to use a K. So very easy word there. Now, why is it a scandal? Because it ends AL, but we didn't need to add NY to it to get it over to Polish. And that's because, truth be told, our AL rule applies to words which describe things. So normal is describing it's a normal coffee or it's a normal wine. Legal, it's a legal contract. Legal describes the contract, it isn't the contract. Universal, that describes something but it is not something. So our AL rule only really applies to words which describe things. The good news is that almost all AL words in English are words which describe things. Alright, if we've got scandal and we're on the subject, let's get the Polish word for crisis.
Kryzys. Kryzys. Kryzys.
Yeah, very nearly the same. So now if you're listening to any kind of commentary about Polish politics or you're listening to any kind of Polish politician, you are bound to hear those two words coming up regularly. As always, the same in Britain and it's the same here. Everything's a scandal and everything's a crisis. Okay, back to the main point of this lesson, which is it is and is it. Okay. Let's start off with the Polish for it is.
To jest. To jest.
And what we get out of there is that the J sound in Polish is always said like J in yacht in English. So it's that y sound. The rest we know, we've got the O like in orbit and we've got the E like in elephant.
To jest. To jest.
Okay, so let's try saying it is normal.
To jest normalny. To jest normalny.
And let's try saying it is legal.
To jest legalny. To jest legalny.
And finally, it is universal.
To jest uniwersalny. To jest uniwersalny.
So let's go back to those two words we started the lesson with today. And let's say it's a scandal. It's a scandal.
To jest skandal. To jest skandal.
And it's a crisis. It's a crisis.
To jest kryzys. To jest kryzys.
That's great. You're nearly ready to become a politician. Now, to jest, it is exactly the same as the way you would ask, is it? You just, like in English, raise your pitch towards the end to make it sound like a question. But unlike in English where we change the is and the it around, in Polish we don't. So we say things like, we would ask, it is a cable. We ask it that way. It is normal, like a question. And we do that exactly the same way in Polish. So let's try asking, is it normal? This thing I've just seen, what this man has just said to me, is it normal?
To jest normalny? To jest normalny?
And let's try asking, is it legal? This thing that this company is asking for, or this thing that this official is asking for, is it legal?
To jest legalne? To jest legalne?
Now, these two phrases are extremely commonplace in Poland. The first one is perhaps the more widespread. You'll find it when somebody's telling an outrageous story, something crazy that's happened to them. And when they finish the story, they'll stop and they'll say, to jest normalne, you know. And it's actually, the closest one I think in English would be something like, can you believe it? You know, can you believe it? But what they're asking is it normal? And of course, you know, the person listening might shrug and say, yes, it's normal. To jest normalne. And you might find in a similar conversation, when you're sort of listening in, you'll hear this to jest legalne. You'll hear this when, you know, they're saying, you know, I bought this thing from the internet and they sent me the wrong thing. I want to send it back, but they want to charge me a fee for sending it back. Is that legal? So you'll hear that. And if later in the course I'll recommend a particular radio station to listen to, and you can listen out for those phrases as well, because of course, you know, on these chat radio stations where they sometimes have politicians in, one politician will be outraged about what another politician has done from the other party, and they will ask things like, is it normal? You know, they're asking that rhetorical question, which they're really saying kind of like, can you believe it? Can you believe what they said? So early phrases you've learnt, but pretty common in the Polish everyday language. Okay, let's try getting another important word across into Polish, because this word is very, very similar in Polish. Cable, like electrical cable, USB cable, printer cable, screen cable. If you've got anything going on with computers or phones, then you need to know the word for cable. And hey, we've all got stuff going on with those kind of things. So if I tell you that it's written in Polish as it's said, and the Polish is very similar to the English. So one of the things we picked up earlier was, like in scandal, that if it sounds like a K, it is a K. Okay, so we can have a pretty good guess here. It sounds like a K, so we start with a K. If it's an A, it's A like in apple. So we've got ca. So we know we're starting. Cab. Okay, and then in English we say cable. Cable. Even though we write it this way round, just like we had that whole thing with Google. But if you're going to say cable in Polish, then you need to write it the same way. And that's how we get the Polish for cable.
Kabel. Kabel.
So we're going to try asking, is it a universal cable? Is it a universal cable? And we've got everything we need to know that now. We can work out what universal is by adding the ny to the end and remembering that the V is a double V and it's basically a W to get the V sound in universal. Okay, so let's just try asking that question, is it a universal cable?
To jest uniwersalny kabel? To jest uniwersalny kabel?
Okay, and what we actually want to reply is, it is a Bluetooth adapter. It is a Bluetooth adapter. Okay, so Bluetooth is one of those words, because it's a new technology, it's literally it came into the language so fast that it got transported across into Polish, written the same and pronounced the same as in English. So it's one of those very few words that floats around where it's not said as it's written, but that's because it's come into the language so quickly and nobody's thought of a Polish equivalent or turned it into Polish like they did with Gogla. Okay, now the Polish for adapter is exactly the same as the English for adapter. We just need to remember about that A as in apple and that E as in elephant. So let's say the statement, it is a Bluetooth adapter.
To jest Bluetooth adapter. To jest Bluetooth adapter.
Great, so we know how to say it is and we know how to ask the question, is it? One thing I need to point out is that in Polish, word order can be quite flexible. So you can have people saying it's an adapter Bluetooth or a Bluetooth adapter. Both of those both way rounds work. Depends really case by case which order is used most commonly. I'm always for now going to stick with the English word order, even if that isn't what's most commonly used in Poland in every case, because we're just getting started here and we've got enough to learn without switching word orders around. And if you stick with the English word order, you will always be understood. So it's not going to be a problem in stopping you from getting started in communicating and talking in Polish. I just want to make you aware of it because you might come across it in some sort of magazines that you read or in some boxes of tea. You might come across this, backward word order to what you've actually seen on this course. Now also, Polish speakers don't always use both the to and the jest in to jest. Again, we're going to see a bit more about that and when they don't do it a little bit later in the course, but for now we're going to stick with just using the literal to jest. And finally, as you've seen, we can find many Polish words like cable, for example, are extremely close to the English version. And I'm going to give you more and more of those as we go through, so you can rapidly build up a very big vocabulary without having to learn very complex and strange words which you might not need in everyday language.